Ready. Hello, Grand Rising. Happy Friday. Hello, I'll give you guys some time to come on in. Hello. Hey, Instagram. Hey, YouTube. Yes. We are at it again. Okay. Give you guys a few more, just a few more seconds to get yourself together. Come on in. All right. All right. Without much further ado, hello, good morning, God rising, grand rising to you. This is Tahiri Divine, also known as Diana the Metaphysical Midwife, which is the midwife of divine destiny. I am here for your freedom financially, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. So I'm so happy to be with you guys today. This is finally on day 5. We are on day 5 of the power of prayer, and I am so happy to be here with you guys today. So today, day 5 is talking about change. Change. Change is the biggest thing. One thing in life that we know is constant is change. Change is always the truth. Hello, Raven 33 Abel. I see you. Good morning, Grand Rising. So we're talking about change today. So when we talk about change, we know the truth that change is inevitable. Change is the only thing that we know will be constant and consistent in our lives. Whether it is the change that we go through from infant to adult age, whether it's the changes of our parents, whether it's the changes in our location, family members, relationships, growing and decreasing, all these different things. We know change to be inevitable. However, when it comes to change, how many of us are committed to our goal throughout the process or transition of change, right? So we're talking about the power of prayer and as it relates to change. So I want to say one of the things that has been hangups for many of us, myself included, is that when we're on a roll or we're on a commitment or a journey of something and some change happens within that, at times we will either lose focus or direction on the goal because of some type of change that has taken place. God morning, God rising. Thank you for coming in. So we're talking about change, right? So one of the things to know, since we know change is inevitable, is to be prepared mentally for change. Okay. We can't always control the aspects of what is changing, but we can, however, control our responses, right? So we know life is 10% of what happens to us, 90% of how we respond to it. Okay. So let's talk about what do you do when there are signs of change in your life and how do you respond? I know for myself, although I understood change to be a constant thing, it would throw you off sometimes, right? Change would throw you like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that to happen, or I wasn't prepared for this, right? And so in those moments of times when we're focusing on a goal or a said pursuit, and there is some types of change externally that takes place, at times it could throw us off guard and make us lose commitment, or not make us lose, but we'll choose to lose our commitment on our endeavors or our goals because the difficulties to adjusting to change could sometimes weigh heavy, right? So I want to talk about commitment. What is commitment? Because since we understand change to be true, when we understand that that's going to happen, and also we understand through prayer, it ushers in change. What do we do as far as our commitments is concerned when adjusting and processing change? So I'm going to give these examples, right, about commitment and how change can be good and doesn't always have to throw you off. So I'm going to give you guys a story. In my early 20s, I had decided to get baptized. I was baptized at 11 years old. And at that time, my baptism was or my motivation, which I came to understand. My motivation at that time was really for me to to find myself to be taken seriously by the adults. I'm the eldest of four children, and I've always been more mature for my age, and just that whole aspect of being responsible and all that. And so I figured at 11 years old, I was ready to commit my soul to God. And I felt that would be a way not only just to enhance my own spiritual life at 11, but also to find ways to connect with the adults, because at my belief system at the time was, if I could prove to the adults that I am just on the same level or equal or close to their level, there would be more of a relatability there. So I got baptized at 11. When I came into my adult years, I decided I wanted to get baptized again. And I made a commitment at that time, because I went through a lot of changes in my life. I ended up losing my job. I had just moved to a new city. I got hired as a manager or assistant manager. And so I had this really, decent job. It wasn't, it was decent. It was a decent job. And I was there for a few months. Unfortunately, the company was going under. So at that time, they were trying to cut back some losses. And since I was the last person hired, the first person fired. And it had nothing to do with my performance. It had everything to do with, they were trying to save money. So I went through that change of being, fired from my job. At the time, I didn't know, but I remember my district manager did mention, oh, well, since this is happening to you, you can't apply for unemployment. At that time, I didn't really understand what this was. I was like 22, 23, very new to the work field, not even new to the work field, just very new to the world. And as far as the rules and how things work and what was a place for people, particularly when you are let go from a job because of them going under, right? So anyway, I didn't know anything about that. Although she mentioned it, it just didn't resonate with me like, oh, that's what I could do. Anyway, so not only did I lost my job, I had my brother, my sister, her baby, and a boyfriend at the time that were all living with me. And these were three able-bodied adults, and nobody was working. I was the only person that was working at the time. And so got rid of them. I'll try to tell that story another day, but I got rid of them and finally got my apartment back, just to find out not even a full month later that I was being let go from my job. And I was let go from my job. And then I was coming up to renew my lease with my apartment. And that whole, within those 3 weeks or a month or so, I was trying to find a job and just nothing was opening up. So I was going through so much change back to back to back. And so after that, event in my life took place, and I was, I hate to use the word homeless, because I wasn't really homeless. I just didn't have a place to live at the time. However, I did end up moving in with a sorority sister of mine that I just met. I'll tell that story another day too. I actually met before, a week before my lease ended, and that turned around to work out for me. But anyway, so during that process of staying at this woman's house and just trying to figure out my life, I decided I was going to commit myself fully to God. And I was going to ignite change in my life by getting baptized as an adult. So I committed to that. I signed up for the baptismal Sunday. I was so excited. I was like, yep, this is the change I need in my life. I am on the pursuit of happiness. This is my pursuit of me finding my happy. And I did the baptize. I got baptized that Sunday. And it was one of the most exhilarating feelings of my life, because I've already made this change in my mind as far as changing my attitude, changing my behaviors, changing my outlook on life. And the baptism was pretty much the outward expression or the ritual or the ceremony or the commencement of this change that I was igniting in my life. And I was so excited. I was so happy. And I felt that euphoria feeling of feelings like, wow, this is it. This is my new beginning. So the next day, that Monday, I was at the grocery store with my toddler at the time, and I went to go, I got all my groceries and everything I had to do. And when it came time to pay, I realized I didn't have my wallet on me. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have my wallet. That's so odd. I just had it on me. So I said, can I run to my car real quick? I ran to my car just to find out that I didn't have my keys. And my keys was on it was like a little mini wallet that was connected to your keys. My keys and my wallet were sitting on the driver's seat, locked in the car. And I was like, great. So I didn't panic. I have really good insurance. I said, okay, just call them. They'll send a pop-a-lock person. Unfortunately, they're going to people that hold my groceries for me. So it took about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour before the pop-a-lock people came, popped open my, the front door for me to get my keys, just for the guy to tell me, like, hey, do you know your tire's flat? And sure enough, the driver's side tire was flat. Like there was like, it was really flat. And I was like, okay. So I was like, okay, I'll just have to deal with that later. Let me just go ahead and get my groceries. And at the same time, I'll call the tire people to change my tire. Well, while I was doing that, my brother ended up calling me for whatever reason, and we just kind of talked. And I was just giving him a, like, I was like, yeah, I'm just waiting for the people to come because my tire went flat and whoop, 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 whatever, right? And that was the end of the conversation, right? Then nothing but maybe 10 minutes after that, while I'm waiting for the tire people to come to give me a spare tire or whatever they were going to do, my father called me. And my father called me just to berate me, verbally berate me. He was just saying, you're stupid. How could you do this? You always making these dumb choices. You're a disappointment. And he was just verbally abusing me like he would do. That's just whatever. So it was just a completely random call because my dad and I were not close and we don't call each other. Well, I'll call him, but he'll never answer. And so for him to call me, I was excited, like, oh, it's my dad calling me. Like, what is it? Okay, whatever, right? And it was just for him to drill one in me. I guess he talked to my brother and he came and just drilled a new one in me. And at that time, I felt my anxiety start to rush in my body, right? I felt this anxiety coming over. And in that moment, I just said, you know what? I am not going to allow this anxiety cycle to take over. I told my dad, no, that is what you think. That's not what I think about myself, and that's not what God thinks about me. Because I just made this commitment yesterday to God, and I'm thinking, how is this happening to me, God? Like, I just made this commitment to myself, and that all of a sudden now I'm getting I locked in my car, my keys in my car, my tire is flat, and here is my dad coming up against me, right? Coming up against me, and this commitment I was making. And I stood up to my father at the moment. I said, no, told him what that, and I hung the phone up. And at that moment, I said, you know what? I am going to get counseling because I felt good standing up to my father, but I knew at that moment that I needed to do some change in my life to sustain myself, to sustain this change that I was going through. So I ended up doing that. Just give me 1 second, guys. You did? Okay. I'll be back in just a minute, okay? You want to the bottom? All right, everyone. So I'm back. So at that moment, I knew I needed to implement some type of change in my life. So where is this story going? Where is the story going? I'm talking about the power of prayer and what does change mean? When I'm talking about change, I don't want us to focus on the external change, right? I want us to focus on the internal changes that we make in ourselves to see the external changes that we desire, particularly when it comes to our commitments, right? So I'm going to break down for you guys 5 reasons why people don't stick to their commitments, or just 5 reasons why we may not stick to our commitments because of change. And change is uncomfortable because change promotes a different action. It even promotes a different mindset. And at that moment, with that event that took place, with how my keys, my tire, my father, I could have used those as excuses to give up on my commitment for what I was feeling at the time was my pursuit of happiness. So, hey, how are you? Ahead of your time. Great message to our divine feminine. Oh, amen to that. Ashe. Yes. So I'm going to give us 5 reasons why we may not always commit to change. So reason number 1 is that we don't own our commitments. There will be times we make commitments to do something, right? Whether it's I want to lose weight, or I want to do this, or I want to start a business. And when there's difficulties that arise or unexpected change that arise within that, we will, if we don't own the commitment, we will give up our pursuit for the change because that we probably didn't own it in the beginning, right? So, or I'll give an example. I started a podcast about a few years ago, and it did really well. However, I wasn't committed to it the way I thought I was, because at the time podcasts were becoming popular. It was about 5, 6 years ago. So podcasts weren't like they are today. Like everybody has a podcast. So it was something new, and I did well with it, but I was doing it because it was trendy. And also I was genuinely interested in it, but I wasn't interested in it to finish it through. So that was one aspect for myself on I didn't own my commitment by sticking it through. And it did really, really well, by the way. Um, Number two, why we don't, reasons why we don't, we give up or we don't commit to our change is that we train ourselves to surrender to temptation. This happens a lot. Think about it when you're on a diet plan, right? And all of a sudden now you say like, you know what, I'm on a diet. I'm going to cut this out of my diet. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But we then start to have these small inklings of like junk food, or myself is ice cream. And it's like, well, I'll just do one little bite. We will reason within ourselves on to give into our impulses. And when we do that, we have committed ourselves to go against our goal or the reward that we're looking for by just giving in slightly. And when you give in slightly to your impulses, right, it starts to become a habit. And we want to change our habits to be committed to what we do versus being agreements to our impulses that will get us away from our goal. Number three, we get easily distracted. And that happens again. This can go into, let's say you're trying to start a business or something, right? And there's a part of your business that you may not like, right? For myself, I necessarily don't like having to I don't like sometimes not so much the managerial aspects, but there's just certain parts of like putting together a blog. As much as I like writing, sometimes I don't like to put the time together to put a blog together that's pertinent to my business at the time. I rather just pay somebody else to do it. Although I love writing, I love that. It's just when it comes to certain ideas, parts of my business, I'd rather somebody else do it. However, when I was totally taking on that responsibility, it drained me. It's like, oh my God, I cannot do this. I don't think I want to do this business anymore. I'm giving it up, right? So we have to realize what are the distractions in our journey, and is the distraction worth giving up, or is it worth letting go of the change that we seek and desire? Okay. Number four, we're unclear about the reward. And this can happen. Because sometimes when we're we're sticking to a goal or sticking to a plan, and we become an agent of change in our life, and we're just in the process of achieving something. Sometimes within the process of trying to achieve, we lose sight on why we're even doing this, right? I've done that before. I got involved in a project or did something, and it wasn't something I was really committed to my long-term reward. However, I was doing it because I was committed to achieving. And that right there, it's so hard to not give in. Exactly. It really is so hard not to give in. And when it comes to not being very clear about your reward or what it is that you were really trying to seek, and you're just doing it just to achieve, that's where you can get lost. And that's where we'll most likely want to give up, because we're not even clear why we're doing what we're doing. Okay. Number five, we entertain, this is a good one. We entertain excessively optimism expectation. Now you're saying, what, T, aren't we supposed to be optimistic? And I'm like, heck yeah, you're supposed to be optimistic. However, if your optimism is not grounded in practicality and rationality, it can sometimes make us see in this grandiose idea of what we're trying to accomplish versus looking at grounding yourself and look at your situation or your circumstance or the event that you're working on, and saying, okay, how can I practically make myself get through this and grow in that? And I can give an example of myself on this. I am a Sag rising, so optimism comes to me. I could be very optimistic about a thing, like, everything was going to work out for my good, because I believe that. And I was particularly in a situation some years back, and it was a really bad situation. And I was telling myself, you know what, this is going to work out for me. It's okay. I always seem to get through things. I'll be fine. And the spirit of God, or whatever you want to call it, the universe spoke so clearly, and it's very clear to me, and said, yes, this can work for your good. However, if you do not look at this situation for what it is, this will work for your bad. And at that moment, that's when I realized, okay, I need to develop some strategy, because while this situation can work out for my good, if I don't have strategy to get through this situation, it will definitely be detrimental to me. So optimism is not a problem. It's about rooting your and grounding your optimism in practicality and rationality. And that is a key to understanding why you're trying to achieve something, or why you have your goal, is being rooted and grounded to see it through with rationality and reason. So I want to go ahead and I gave us 5 reasons on why most people give up. I want to give 5 questions to ask yourself before you give up. So question number 1 is, ask yourself, why do you want to quit? Are we quitting because that I love your videos and guidance. Oh, thank you. Thank you. We want to ask ourselves why we're quitting. And I want to say this too. Some goals are meant to be abandoned, because we have to realize not every goal is, if it's not aligned to your long-term pursuit or your long-term reward, then is it worth really keep going, moving forward in? So there's nothing wrong letting go of goals. It's just understanding, why are you quitting? Are you quitting because you have a weak resolve, or are you quitting because it's difficult and you don't want to deal with the difficulties? Okay. So question number 1, ask yourself that before you quit something. Why do you want to quit? Find out your why. Number 2, does the reward adequately compensate me for the discomfort? A lot of times, like I said, we want to quit because it makes us uncomfortable. It's putting me outside my comfort zone. So ask yourself before you quit, is the reward greater than the discomfort that you may be going through? Or is this worth something of letting go? Is it worth letting go? Is the reward not worth the discomfort? So ask yourself that. Next, number 3, what is my purpose? You got to know why you're doing a thing. What is your purpose? Is this goal that you are reaching, is it aligned with your purpose? And if it's not, then maybe it's something that you may have to let go. Number 4, am I tempted to give up to weak resolve, or because my outlook has changed? And that is so important. You have to ask yourself, why am I giving up? Is it because I'm not able to resolve this, or I think I don't have the wherewithal to resolve it? Or is it because I changed my perspective on something? Like for my podcast, I did it. It was fun, but my perspective changed and it wasn't something I was into. I was like, you know what? I don't care about editing. I don't care about doing this. I don't care about doing that. I don't care anymore. It was fun to learn the process in the process, but this is something I don't want to do. All right. So that's number 4. And number 5, the number 5 question, will I regret the decision to give up? Ask yourself, will your future self regret making this decision? Because a lot of times and I've done this too, I gave up something and I looked back some time later, I was like, gosh, I really wish I would have pushed through or finished that goal. So those are things to ask yourself. And we're talking about change. And we're talking about change from the inward. Are we willing to pursue our change, or are we allowing our circumstances or the difficulties of the event to circumvent us from really taking action? All right. So today we're talking about the power of prayer. We're talking about change. And change is not so much about the outside. Change starts internal. Are you willing to do what's necessary for you to see the change in your life? Because it takes an action to get an action. Okay. Well, this is all for today, guys. This is going to be your homework for the weekend. I really want you guys to do this exercise I'm going to give you. In this exercise, I want you guys to look into a person, whether it's a family member, friend, or celebrity, or whoever, who had gained some type of surmountable success. I think I just destroyed that word. Who have gained some type of success in their life, right? And study or research, the triumphs they had in that, the difficulties, their frustrations, and their story on how they were able to have triumph in their success. And then not to compare yourself to that. Honey, I'm almost done. Okay. I'm gonna have to get ready to go. My little one is fussing with me. But not to compare yourself to that person, but to look in how that their way of trying to triumph, how is it that you can apply that into your life? Not as a way to compare yourself to them, but as a way to take what the lessons that they have learned and apply it to yourself. Example I'll give is Michael Jordan. I was watching on Netflix with my mom the I think it was called The Last Dance, and it was the Michael Jackson the Michael Jordan series, and just watching him and learning about his story about how he was cut from his basketball team, but then that didn't stop him from becoming one of the most celebrated basketball players of our time, right? And learning about his struggles and his frustrations and his triumphs, it made me look like, wow, how can I apply that mindset in my own life, right? So that's your homework is for this weekend, guys, because today's the last day. We'll resume back on Monday. But over the weekend, research somebody who has had some level of success in their life and research their triumphs and their frustrations and their struggles and how they're able to get through it. And ask yourself, how is it that you can apply that in your own life to get through the goals that you have in your own personal life? So that's your homework for you guys this weekend. Thank you guys for coming in with me today in this fifth day of the power of prayer. We're talking about change and being an agent of change for our life, right? I see some comments coming through. It says, this video keeps pausing. Oh, LOL, not sure if it's the Wi-Fi. Just thought I'd let you know. Oh, thank you. Well, it is on YouTube. So if this one is, if it's been choppy here on Instagram, you can definitely go to my YouTube channel. I'm live on YouTube, and it'll be on the YouTube as well. So hopefully that does come and work better for you all. But thank you guys for coming in. I am so happy to be here with you guys and doing the series, The Power of Prayer. I will resume back on Monday. I will see you guys then. Well, you guys have a wonderful, lovely weekend. And until then, I wish you health, wealth, and wisdom all the days of your life. Ashe. Until next time. Bye, guys. It's Tahiri Divine. So my YouTube is the exact same as my name. The link in my YouTube bio will have it all in there, but I'll make sure. Let's see. Can I put my YouTube link on here? Just Tahiri. Damn. Tahiri Divine is the YouTube channel. It will come up. Alrighty, guys. Well, all right, guys. I got to go. Bye, y'all.